Procrastination. Let's talk about it. Welcome to DeltaPod. This is an unplanned episode, as in I've not written the blog. I'm not going to kind of work through things methodically. I feel like I've been procrastinating. So let's talk about procrastination, because we all do it. My specific procrastination, if I was to try and think about it without looking at Google or how to define it, but what if I was to define it, not doing what you know you should do. That's what procrastination in any given time. I think it's a time-bound bit. So not doing what you know you should do right now. I think I'm a task-focused individual. I think I'm someone who almost needs to be working through tasks. That's not always that healthy. This weekend, it's the summer holidays here in the UK, and my lovely kids are away at grandparents. So I'm trying to record a few of these episodes. I'm trying to relax, but equally do some of these episodes. And I think what's important, it's important to relax, but I found myself just procrastinating. I got this whole setup, the set is all there, good to go. I recorded 2 episodes on Saturday. Today's Monday. Yesterday I was going to try and record 2 episodes. I ended up procrastinating. I wrote 2 blogs, but I didn't sit down and do this because I was like, I'm not ready. I haven't written the blogs. I think that's a key thing, is if I can't do something to 100%, if I don't feel like I'm ready, I'm less likely to do it. And I did a whole film about this. I did a whole film called Stop Thinking, Start Digging, where I dig a hole for 24 hours. It'll be up on the channel somewhere. And really that film was about character, and we didn't give it the name Stop Thinking, Start Digging until after we shot it. And that was my key thing, was that rather than allowing perfection, everything's got to be in place before I can start doing something, you just need to start moving. And so this is a short episode about procrastination. I think it's that the enemy of progress is perfection. Progress over perfection. And anyone who's had a PT or has got Instagram has heard people say that before. But it's in our heads, we want to be ready to do something, but we're very rarely 100% ready. We just got to start going, and you'll get ready and you'll make it happen. Let's look up. Let me do this live. Let me do a bit of Googling on the old phoneage and see what Google tells about procrastination, because as much as my definition is useful, and I think on definitions I've done a whole episode on it, you defining what procrastination means to you is really important, because you're more likely to take ownership for doing something about it. The action of delaying or postponing something. And I would add to that, it's okay to delay things or postpone something, but it's something, I think the worst bit is it's something you know that you could and should do now. Like, I know I could have recorded podcasts yesterday. Last 3 episodes we've been talking about high performance, the high performance spaces, and this concept of the lowest permissible standard. I've done enough. That'll do, pig. Right? I've been productive today, and I'm not even supposed to be working. I'm on, this is my 3-day holiday of the summer holidays. Why am I doing this? Why do I feel like I have to be productive? And you feel like you owe it to yourself to not do that thing. I want to be lazy. I feel like watching Netflix is the best thing for me. So I'm going to probably do a few more of these episodes, because I feel like I wait for things to be perfect. And actually the format for this, for DeltaPod, every episode, I want it to be a blog post with it. And I want to have thought things through, and I want to have articulated myself, because there's a lot of thought, and we all have a lot of thoughts and opinions, but I think you've got in order to deliver them well, you need to articulate them. So I try to articulate things in writing before I then go and talk about them. That's all well and good. But equally, that is quite a high bar, right? I've got to have thought about it. I've got to have drafted a few different blogs and been through it a few times. Like yesterday, I spent 2 or 3 hours writing a blog. So if I'm waiting, I've got to do 2 or 3 hours of writing before I can turn on the camera and get the microphone going. That's quite a high bar. So let's call this the procrastination series, where I'm just going to stick on the microphone and the camera and start talking. First episode being, what is procrastination? The symptoms or the things that cause it are we feel like we need to be more ready than we feel. Or sometimes it comes back to resilience. Sometimes I might not want to do it, but I know it's good for me. Cold bath, good example here, right? I know I should do it. I know I should do it each morning, and I might be all ready to go. And I've had a few mornings where I'm pretty good at getting in and going to the cold baths, but every now and then, like, the kids will be kicking off, and that little bit of stress sideswipes me, just knocks me off, takes my motivation away, because I don't want to go and put myself in a stressful environment, which is getting in the cold bath, or that point of exposure into the cold bath, I think it brings a bit of emotional stress. So it's like that little straw of the kids kicking off, and I suppose I want to be kind of zen when I do it. And then that happens to me. So I won't bother doing it. I just don't do it. And then surprise, surprise, I then probably have a worse day because I've allowed myself to quit or procrastinate and delay something. Same with diets. I've not done lots of dieting, but the dieting I have done, I've noticed that it's going well, and then it piles in. I'll be like, I'll have one beer, I'll have 2 beers, I have 8 pints of cider, and have a kebab at 1 a.m, and then I'm rough for the next 3 days, and it's just completely gone, right? It's gone from being very, very good to a classic British boozy night and a bit of binge drinking. And I suppose the discipline comes then in, we can't all walk around like robots, and I've spoken about that previously, but how do we not yo-yo? How do we not go from extreme to extreme? And I think it's catching yourself. I think it's also doing it when you're not ready. So this podcast, don't feel ready. I've just been chilling, had a lovely morning. I'm going to record another podcast after this one where I've actually written the blog and I'm ready to go. But I just felt like this is something that was on my heart, and procrastination is something we all struggle with. And so the opposite would be doing what you know you should do right now, despite perhaps not being ready. But ultimately, this is going to be a fairly raw form. But a lot of things in life, we can do them in draft. We can do it, and it doesn't have to go out live, doesn't have to go out straight away. And so doing it when you're not ready is going to get you moving further forward in life, I think. And I think that calls back to that film, the digging film, which I'll probably do a whole episode on, but it's called Stop Thinking, Start Digging. That whole mindset came from when I was digging the hole. And now the parameters of the challenge were, it's a 3 metre by 3 metre hole. You've got to carry everything in with you. You then have to dig for 24 hours and you can't leave the hole. So I de-turfed, got all the little turf, and I was digging down. And then I'm starting to think, well, what's the most efficient way to dig this hole? Should I dig this way a little bit and then dig that way a little bit? And if I dig closer to where I've got to throw the dirt, does that make it quicker? And I found myself, I'd be like losing like 20 seconds, a minute. And the more tired I get, I was procrastinating more and more. Like, oh, what about this? And it's an excuse to delay the inevitable. And then, so very quickly, I then had this mantra: you're literally digging a hole. Right? It's not that hard. It's not. There's not a strategy to it. You've just got to work. And a lot of problems in life are solved with just a bit of work, just to start moving towards the goal. And so that's with the mantra: stop thinking, start digging. And actually in the film, there's a bit where I'm like, it's like 1 a.m, I'm fried, and I'm like, stop thinking, start digging. And I'm just literally just digging. And I think there's that mentality that we need to adopt. Right? So what is it you need to stop thinking about and start doing? Doing despite not being ready, perhaps. Doing despite being a bit scared, or even being in a stressed state. Right? You might feel a bit sore and you might not want to go for that run, and you can justify it. Right? You can always justify it to yourself. You can, and this goes back to the lowest permissible standard. That'll do. You can tell yourself, that'll do. I've done enough. And that's that for me. I don't like that feeling of procrastination and like, okay, I might have done enough, but I know like I enjoy this. I'm enjoying this right now. This is creating rather than consuming. But I feel like we're just built for, or we're drilled in consuming. Consuming is me having comfort, is me relaxing. And if I'm on holiday, why am I going to the effort to do all this? And I think being a bit creative and bring some effort into things actually will reinvigorate you. And I've done a whole episode on that, about creativity versus consumption, and how we need to be creating more rather than just consuming, or at least analysing our ratio between creativity and consumption. So that is my episode 1 of the Procrastination Diaries. Let's call it that, Procrastination Diaries. Where when I feel like I'm not 100% ready, I'm just going to turn on the mic and start talking. So if you enjoyed this, let me know. And your support is really, there's some people start to comment on YouTube. Thank you for that comment. It obviously helps me, it encourages me, lets me know I'm not just talking to myself. But if there's subjects you want me to talk about, or there's problems, drop them in the comments on YouTube. And also on Apple Podcasts, like a rating helps loads, and sharing it with your mates. Like you might be in a WhatsApp group with 20 mates. If you enjoy this episode, drop a link into your mates. That really helps me, and it helps the channel grow. And also, I'd like to think perhaps if you're sharing with your mates, you might be helping them. Same goes for Spotify. It's on Spotify. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Despite the fact that I dislike social media, it's all over social media as well. So it's on Instagram. Thank you for your support. This is me procrastinating. Speak to you in the next one.